Imagine this. A doctor misdiagnoses your illness. A financial advisor loses your retirement savings through negligence. A lawyer botches your case. In each scenario, you have recourse. These professionals are licensed. They're accountable. They can lose their ability to practice. Now imagine a different scenario. An artificial intelligence system denies you a loan. Another recommends against your parole. A third suggests your tumor is benign when it isn't. Who built these systems? What training do they have? What happens when they fail? The uncomfortable truth? We have no idea. And right now, we have no way to find out. Artificial intelligence systems now make decisions that shape millions of lives every single day. Let's be specific about what that means. In healthcare, AI systems analyze medical images to detect cancer. They recommend treatment protocols. They predict which patients are at risk of deterioration. When these systems work, they're miraculous. When they fail, people die. In financial services, AI determines whether you get a mortgage, a car loan, or a credit card. It sets your insurance premiums. It evaluates whether your small business deserves capital to grow. These decisions determine whether families own homes, whether entrepreneurs can chase their dreams. In criminal justice, AI systems inform bail decisions. They calculate recidivism risk scores that influence sentencing. They identify suspects. The stakes couldn't be higher. Liberty itself hangs in the balance. And in employment, AI screens resumes, conducts initial interviews, and recommends hiring decisions. Your livelihood, your ability to provide for yourself and your family, increasingly depends on whether an algorithm finds you acceptable. These aren't hypotheticals. These systems exist today. They're making these decisions right now. And here's what should trouble you. The people who build them face no professional requirements whatsoever. Let's talk about what professional licensing actually does. When you visit a doctor, you know they've completed years of medical education, passed rigorous board examinations, and maintained their license through continuing education. If they harm you through negligence, they face real consequences, including losing their ability to practice medicine. The same applies to lawyers, accountants, engineers, nurses, pharmacists, and dozens of other professions. We've decided as a society that certain work is too important, too consequential, to leave to chance. Now consider the AI engineer who designs the system diagnosing your disease or evaluating your loan application. What training have they received in ethics? What do they understand about bias and fairness? Have they studied the legal frameworks governing their domain? Have they demonstrated any competency in safety methodology? The answer, in most cases, is we simply don't know. There are no requirements, no examinations, no licensing boards, no continuing education mandates, no disciplinary structures. An AI engineer without ethics training can deploy systems that systematically disadvantage vulnerable populations. A data scientist who doesn't understand algorithmic bias can create discriminatory lending models. A developer without formal safety methodology can roll out systems making irreversible decisions affecting human lives. And there's no mechanism, none, to prevent this. Professional licensing isn't complicated. It works through a set of complementary mechanisms that, together, protect the public while maintaining professional standards. The 5 pillars. First, licensing establishes baseline knowledge requirements. Before you can practice, you must demonstrate that you've mastered the fundamental knowledge your profession requires. For doctors, this means anatomy, pharmacology, diagnostic methods. For lawyers, contracts, constitutional law, ethics. Second, licensing creates accountability through disciplinary structures. When professionals fail to meet standards, there are consequences. They can be censured, suspended, or lose their license entirely. This isn't theoretical. It happens every day. Third, licensing mandates continuing education. Fields evolve. New techniques emerge. Regulations change. Licensed professionals must stay current or risk losing their credentials. Fourth, licensing establishes shared professional language and standards. When doctors discuss a condition or lawyers reference a legal doctrine, they're speaking a common language built on shared training and shared expectations. Fifth, and crucially, licensing provides investigative and disciplinary functions. When something goes wrong, there's a body responsible for investigating what happened and determining appropriate responses. These mechanisms work together. They're not perfect, No system is, but they provide the public with baseline assurance that the professionals they rely on meet minimum standards of competency and ethics. So what would professional licensing for AI look like? It would address the same needs as licensing in established fields, adapted to the unique characteristics of artificial intelligence. Candidates would demonstrate competency in core technical areas: machine learning, statistical methods, systems architecture. But technical skill alone wouldn't be sufficient. Licensed AI professionals would also need to demonstrate understanding of ethics, bias and fairness, validation methodology, and, this is crucial, domain-specific knowledge. Think about what this means in practice. A person developing medical AI shouldn't just understand algorithms. They should understand healthcare law and medical ethics. They should know HIPAA. They should understand the profound stakes of medical error. Someone deploying criminal justice AI should understand constitutional protections. They should grasp the specific challenges of algorithmic fairness in contexts where racial and socioeconomic bias have deep historical roots. Professionals would pass rigorous examinations. They would commit to continuing education, essential in a field that evolves as rapidly as AI. They would operate within defined ethical frameworks, and they would face meaningful accountability for failures to meet professional standards. This isn't about creating bureaucratic barriers. It's about ensuring that the people building systems that affect your life, your liberty, your livelihood, have demonstrated the knowledge and commitment to do so responsibly. Now, objections to AI licensing deserve serious consideration. Let's address the most common ones directly. Licensing stifles innovation. Some argue that licensing will slow down AI development, that regulatory requirements will stifle the innovation driving this technological revolution. But look at medicine. Look at law. Look at accounting. These fields have rigorous licensing requirements, and they remain highly innovative. Licensing didn't prevent the development of new surgical techniques, novel legal theories, or advanced financial instruments. It simply ensured that the people deploying these innovations met baseline competency standards. It's too early for licensing. Others claim that AI licensing is premature, that we should wait until the field matures further before imposing professional requirements. But professional licensing has historically emerged when fields matured enough to identify core competencies, not when they achieved perfect stasis. Medicine didn't wait for every disease to be cured. Law didn't wait for every legal question to be settled. Engineering didn't wait for every bridge design to be perfected. AI has reached precisely this moment. We can identify core competencies. We understand the risks. We know what responsible practice looks like. The question isn't whether we can establish licensing, it's whether we have the will to do so. Licensing creates barriers to entry. A third objection concerns gatekeeping, that licensing will create barriers preventing talented individuals from entering the field, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds. This is a legitimate concern, and one that must inform how we design licensing frameworks. But it's a manageable challenge, not an insurmountable barrier. Careful framework design can ensure inclusive credentialing pathways, multiple routes to demonstrate competency, support for candidates from diverse backgrounds, recognition of varied forms of relevant experience. The current alternative, a field with no barriers at all, isn't actually more equitable. It simply shifts the barriers to other places. Who has access to the right networks, the right pedigrees, the right informal credentialing? A transparent, standardized licensing system can actually increase access by clarifying what's required and providing structured pathways to get there. Let's return to where we started. The patient receiving a diagnosis, the family reviewing loan documents, the defendant facing judgment. In each case, artificial intelligence increasingly shapes the outcome. And in each case, the people building these systems operate without licensing requirements, without baseline competency verification, without meaningful accountability frameworks. This represents a striking departure from how we govern other high-stakes professions. We wouldn't accept unlicensed surgeons operating on our bodies. We wouldn't accept unlicensed lawyers handling our legal matters. We wouldn't accept unlicensed engineers designing our bridges. Why should we accept unlicensed AI professionals building systems that increasingly govern our lives? The mechanisms exist. We know how professional licensing works. We've refined these systems over centuries across dozens of fields. We simply need the will to apply these proven mechanisms to a field that has become far too consequential to leave to chance. The time to establish professional licensing in AI is not some distant future. The time is now.